It is one of the most difficult areas to access in Turkana County thanks to the unforgiving terrain and insecurity. From Lokichogio, one must head east to get to Lorus village, a few kilometers from the border between Kenya and South Sudan. It is noon on Friday as we drive into the village. It had rained the previous day, but still the heat is unbearable. For over 215 kilometers, we have been driving from Lodwar town, eventually getting into Kakuma town, and now finally to Lokichogio town. But we've moved further deep into the interior where we found a village called Lorus. This village, we understand, is right in the middle of no man's land. It's right in the middle of the border point between Kenya and South Sudan. We're here to meet a community, the Turkana, and we understand they have tales to tell about their daily struggles. Anxious women and children welcome us, hoping that we have brought them food, medical supplies, and maybe some form of security. Inside one of the huts, an elderly man is nursing a bullet wound. Just 4 days ago, he was attacked while grazing his animals. Toposa warriors from the neighboring South Sudan have been roaming the hills for several days now, attacking the Turkana. As we film, one of the villagers informs us that the warriors are lurking in the hills, monitoring all our movements. Our guide tells us not to take very long here. To save his hand, this man was taken to Nanam, almost 15 kilometers from here, to get treatment. Lorus village has no health facility, nor a medical practitioner. This young boy was also injured when his father was shot in the hand. A bullet grazed his cheek. The wound is still fresh. He has not received the right treatment yet. There is little money left for that. The hardship in this village, which is home to about 1,000 families, cannot be understated. There is no clean water, no school, and no proper roads that can link this village directly to the rest of the towns that are thriving in Turkana. But yet this community chooses to live here. Why? I ask them.
Wakati tulikuwa nakuja huko Kapetadi, tulikuwa naishi hapa mwezi wa kwanza. Ile tulikuwa nachambulewa na Toposa huko pale naita Napion na Peta. Sasa tulikuja kusimama hapa. Sasa hakuna hata ng'ombe, hakuna hata nini, tukasimama hapa.
This is what they use as their makeshift clinic. It is just a thatched hut without any protection from the sun, wind and cold.
Mgonjwa akikuja tunakalisha. Alafu unauliza ugonjwa wapi? Akisema kichwa, tunagusa kichwa hivi kama iko moto. Alafu unaona hii mizizi kama inaruka damu na minai, nasema unapatia Panadol.
There is only one bed, and yes, it is made of sticks. On this makeshift bed, several women have given birth.
Tunawekanga kitu kama ngozi ya ng'ombe hapa hivi. Alafu akisa analala tu hapa, wakati mtoto anatoka, tunaambia tunaweka tena mattress hapa hivi. Alafu wakati anajifungua anatoa mtoto, hatutaki mtoto angie ndani ya mchanga, juu ya machanga. Tunakamata. Alafu tunaweka kwa nini yake, kwa karibu na matiti hapa hivi. Tukiweka kwa matiti yake hivi, alafu tunakata hii kitovu, tunakata, alafu tunafunga, alafu tunakata. Alafu sasa tunalalisha kwa mattress, mama na mtoto kwa mattress.
Stephen Etabarakuta is a community health worker. He heads a team of 5 community health volunteers who recently helped 2 women deliver their babies.
Wanawake wangapi wameweza kuzaa hapa?
Wamezaa wawili.
Tangu mfungue.
Tangu tumemini.
Watoto wako salama kabisa.
Wako salama.
This is one of the infants who was born recently. His mother declines to give us his name. It is taboo, she tells us, because he has not reached 6 months. Strangers should know very little about him. His father is the one nursing a bullet wound on his hand. We are told pregnant women have it rough when sporadic attacks occur in this village. Some have had to run several kilometers into the bushes to protect their unborn children.
Shida kubwa iko kwa sisi. Sisi ya serikali hakuna nasaidia. Ndio tunasema wacha tuiche hapo. Ile kama serikali kama nyinyi anakuja kuona sisi. Watu kama ya kamati kama nyinyi nakuja. Naona tu shida sisi tuko. Sisi hakuna kitu chochote. Tulikuwa na serikali ya kaunti. Sasa wakati wa kura kila kitu akasimama.
Inside another hut, another woman is watching her daughter sleep. She is less than 8 weeks old. Just like the first infant we saw, this little girl was also born inside the makeshift clinic when the mother went into labor. She declines to be interviewed, but informs us that her biggest fear is when the attackers from South Sudan strike in the wee hours of the night. Those fears have been realized here before. Just mid this year, this same village was attacked. More than 5 people were reported to have died after a gun battle between them and the Toposa, but they lost their cattle. This community was forced to look for shelter at a nearby village called Nanam. This was the first time I met this group, sometime in June. They lived like internally displaced persons. In their own country, they had been forced to run for safety by outsiders. It is something they cannot fathom.
Kitu ambayo imenifukuza kutoka mahali ambako nilikuwa nakaa ni kiangazi. Pia kulikuwa na adui ambao ni Toposa ambao aliweza kutufukuza kutoka mahali ambako nilikuwa nakaa. Sasa hivi nashangaa ile Kenya ambayo tunasema tunaishi imeweza kufukuzwa kutoka huko. Hakuna serikali ambayo imeweza kunisaidia. Sasa hivi nimekuja hapa hivi.
Adui yetu naitwa Toposa. Ndio tunachambulia sisi huko. Litoka huko kwa pole. Toposa alitoka huko Nadapal na Rus anakuja kutoka kwa Lomeyan. Anakuja kwa sisi. Anachambulia mali yetu, ng'ombe na punda na ngamia na mbuzi. Sasa kama hiyo kitu yote, hiyo mali yote anatoka, sisi tukwabidi kwa ama.
Mzee Naitukuyo, a husband of 4 and a father of 20 children, is one of the victims. He limps slowly towards the rest of his community members. He has an artificial limb on his left leg. A couple of years ago, he was shot by the attackers from the Toposa.
Kuna ukosefu wa usalama katika eneo ambao tunakaa. Tunavokaa hivi, mara kwa mara unasikia umbwa wakibweka. Na umbwa wakibweka, unajua ya kwamba kuna adui ambao wanataka kutunyemelea. Sasa hizi venye tunakaa hivi, adui wanatushambulia mara kwa mara. Mifugo wanaweza kuchukuliwa. So katika eneo hili ambao tunakaa, hakuna usalama kabisa.
The incident changed his life completely. He cannot fend for his family the way he used to.
Serikali kama inaweza kunisaidia, iweze kunisaidia. Sababu mimi sina uwezo ya kuwalisha. Mifugo wote wamekufa.
His children are among those that we found gathered here under a tree, their faces displaying a lot of anguish and despair. Very little has been done to help them get out of their predicament. A few kilometers from here, we find another group. They have been attacked before and they are not taking any chances. Each of these young men is carrying a gun. Even though they are within the Kenyan border, anytime they could come under attack. They have equated this area to no man's land. Basic amenities are scarce in this region. This is all the water they have for bathing, washing their clothes and quenching the thirst of their animals. Every time they come under attack, they are forced to go for days without this commodity. For drinking, children and women have to dig the soil and fetch whatever little they can. In another part of this region, women are moving their young ones, belongings and animals too. A recent attack has gotten them too scared to stay here anymore. They are moving away from Nawountos village, which also neighbors the Toposa community in South Sudan. The living conditions here are equally tough. The last time the locals saw occupants arriving here in a vehicle was months ago. They were dignitaries soliciting for votes. For some absurd reason, they thought we were dignitaries and they prepared a high table for us. We declined, but they insisted. One by one, they proceeded to tell us about their daily challenges, and we had to listen, but could offer little assistance. This village has roughly over 500 families. They have tried to eke a living by planting vegetables and keeping livestock, but all that goes to waste once the Toposa begin their raids.
Tunajilinda tuko na bunduki zetu ya KPR. Na pia waraia pia wako na yao, walisale wanalala hapa, pia wanatusaidia kitu kitokea, shida yote kitokea.
They have seen their loved ones being killed on numerous occasions.
Mahali ambayo inaitwa Nawountos ni kitu kama 4 kilometres. Ndio watu wanaenda kushota, wamama ndio wanaendanga. Na huko ni adui wao wanajifichanga. Hapo ni laga, na laga imetoka miti kubwa kubwa. Sasa mtu anajificha ndani, uwezo ona tu. Unasikia tu sasa imegonga. Pip. Wewe umeanguka.
Today, almost everyone in this village is armed with a gun. They have had to find a way to guard their property well with whatever little they have. Their most important resource is water, and it is the same commodity that the Toposa also come here to fight for. This water well, complete with a pump and a solar equipment, was drilled by a local non-governmental organization to help the locals here do farming, among many other things. But because of constant attacks, they no longer use the facility. Overgrown grass has covered most of the well, together with the equipment, and it is all going to waste now.
Mara mingi sana wale mandugu zetu wanatoka huko wanaweza kuja wakiwa wengi. Wakikuja wengi wanawasidi hao nguvu. Sasa zile risasi ambayo wamepewa na serikali inakuwa chache ile ya kuchunga nayo roho. Wakati umepigwa hapa wewe unapiga moja ili ufungue njia utoroke. Sasa ukitoroka wanakuja kuchukua ile rasilimali ambayo wewe umekuwa ukichunga. Kwa hivyo watazidiwa, maana ni wachache na hawana risasi.
The Toposa have caused so much trouble that every little step these men take out of their comfort zone, they have to go with their guns. They know that they might not return. The Toposa are an ethnic group in South Sudan living in the greater Capoeira region. They have traditionally lived by herding cattle, sheep and goats, and in the past they are said to have been involved in the ivory trade. They have a tradition of constant low-level warfare, usually cattle raids, against their neighbors. During the Second Sudanese Civil War in 1983 to 2005, the Toposa helped the SPLA at times, and at other times helped the government of Sudan. After the war, sporadic clashes with neighboring tribes continued. However, the Toposa way of life is slowly being modernized, and traditional social organization is eroding. When the rains end, the men take their herds to dry season pasturage, then slowly bring them back, grazing along the way to arrive in the village when the next rainy season starts. Some areas of good pasturage cannot be used because of lack of drinking water, hence their intention to cross over to the neighboring Turkana in search of water. But greed also drives them to steal livestock. The Turkana have also borrowed heavily from the Toposa, for instance, construction of these huts. The normal Turkana Manyata has a low roof and is round in shape, but in Nawountos and Lorus, the huts are cone-shaped. The Turkana here want to coexist with their cousins from South Sudan and carry on with their lives, but it will take more than fleeing from their homes for that to happen. Elders have tried to hold meetings to bring an end to the sporadic attacks, but that has not yielded fruit. They now want the government to play a major role.
Amani iko 50-50. Amani iko 50. Kwa sababu sasa yote sisi tunalala kiwaswasi, tutakuja kushambuliwa ama tutalala salama. Kwa hivyo hatuwezi sema ni iko amani, amani iko 50-50. Kwa sababu iko watu usiku watu wanakuja kuzingira. Asubuhi tukana tunapata nyayo watu 3, watu 5.
Wapi serikali yetu? Tunasema hata hospitali hakuwa hapa. Na nasema hata shule hakuwa hapa. Na wangea tu zero. Kila mtu nakuja kusimamia. Nakuja hakuna. Hata asgari naleta hakuna. Sasa nani sasa uhuru basi hapana, najua huko hii watu naendanga wapi. Sisi tunasaulika kama si watu wa Kenya. Na sisi wa Kenya tu. Hii milima tunaita mogla. Lakini hakuna mtu nakumbuka sisi. Siku kudanganya kwa Mungu. Ni ukweli, hata wewe umeshuhudia ile iko Nairobi, umeshuhudia. Wakati wa Andrew na John kukuja tu kuona sisi. Lakini ukipika watu wa kampeni namna hii, nasema watu wetu, sisi tuko na kifande ndio hii tunashika. Hata kama sisi tunasaidika, shauri basi ya mkubwa. Sisi tu tunaomba Mungu.
Hata itekejera anaomba. Saizi mifugo wamekufa, punda wamekufa, mbuzi wamekufa, ng'ombe wamekufa, na kwa siku chache ambazo zinakuja tutaanza kuona pia binadamu wakikufa. Anaomba kama hao ni Wakenya waweze kuja wasaidiwe, ya kwamba saizi wanajiona ni kana kwamba si Wakenya.
At the moment, there is some normalcy in Nawountos and Lorus, but these locals are staring at another big problem. There is very little food for the entire village. Most of them now rely on wild fruit. When it comes to matters food, women have to break their back, fending for their young ones. Rebecca is 28 years old. She's grinding relief maize using a stone. This will be her meal together with her young one. Once this is finished, she will start searching again.
Sisi tuna ukame kubwa sana. Sasa singine tunaenda hata huko juu kwa Teusi, Dodosi. Tunatafuta chakula. Sasa singine tunauliwa kwa njia. Sasa singine Mungu anakusaidia tu, unapita unaenda huko.
Basi mtu akikuuliza hapa kwa hiki kijiji iko shida mingi. Kwa nini unakaa? Mbona usiende karibu mahali iko?
Sasa utaenda wapi huko? Na ni vile hapa hivi ndio uliweka makao yako. Unaenda basi huko unatafuta chakula huko kama taoni makubwa. Unasaidiwa chakula kama hii bakate moja. Na ukuleka baada ya siku 5 inaisha hii chakula ya hii nini? Kwa sababu ya family kubwa ile tuko naye. Sisi waraia sisi hatukuli kama nyinyi. Sisi tunakula mtu mmoja anakula hii galani chakula ni mtu mmoja. Inaisha siku hiyo. Sasa hii galani siku moja tu.
She dropped out of school because of many problems.
My husband is this guy. My shit is this. Another shit is there at home with their manyar. It's 3 children.
Boys or girls?
Boys 2, girls 1.
Tell me, which school did you go to and how far did you go with your education? Which class was the last one you attended?
Downy, I was class 6. I came in Turkana and Kakuma. I go 7.
These harsh conditions here have, however, made these people resilient. Today, they are preparing the land, ready for planting when the rains come, hopefully. They use their hands, sticks and hoes, but the ground is dusty and bare. A man stands, guarding them from the gazing eyes of the Toposa somewhere within the hills. Nawountos village was started in the year 2011, barely 6 years ago. It was started by a handful of men who wanted to make a living out of this area because they found it to be exceptionally fertile. But what they found out later was a number of challenges in this area, from lacking water to being attacked by their neighbors, the Toposa from South Sudan and Karamojong from Uganda. It has been a living hell for the people here, lacking education as well as health facility. These people here are simply a forgotten tribe. As we prepare to leave this village, 48-year-old Lobui Lokokui approaches us. He looks at us desperately as he gathers the strength to ask for a favor. He struggles to utter the words, but we pick them up. He wants his hand back. A year ago, while grazing animals behind those hills, the Toposa militia ambushed him and his fellow herders. He was the only one who survived, but his hand was severely damaged. A missionary who visited this village some time back gave him an artificial arm supporter, which he uses to support his elbow. Lokokui can still hold his rifle, aim quite well, and shoot at anything that crosses his path. He is the sharpest shooter, we are told. But he wants his arm to be normal again. That way, he can do battle with the Toposa when they strike again. He says his wish is to die protecting his community. Nimrod Taabu, NTV, Lokichogyo, in the county of Turkana.